if I ever leave this world alive. Well, thank you for the things you did in my life.
Morning, YouTube. Beautiful weather we're having out here in Arizona today. Perfect pipe weather. Smoking barling today. Some Herbst 84. Sample my German friend Mario Beard and Pipe sent me a while back. First time getting to it. Herbst 84. This is really good. Mario, thank you. Taste good Latakia blend English. Reminds me a little of Frogmorton Cellar, but less whiskey infused. But in a good way. I could definitely smoke this some more. Yeah, you'll probably have to send me more of this. This is really good. Or I'll figure out how to buy it. Welcome to episode 5, Pipe with Epictetus. We're going to start today on section 11. Epictetus is jumping right back into the idea of not putting too much stock into things. Even into relationships, actually. Section 11. Never say about anything that I've lost it. But say I have restored it. Is your child dead? It has been restored. Is your wife dead? She has been restored. Has your estate been taken away from you? Has not this also been restored? But he who has taken it from me is a bad man, you'll say. But what is it to you? By whose hands the giver demanded it back. So long as he may allow you to take care of it as a thing which belongs to another, as travelers do with their inn. Epictetus is calling for us to look at your house, your family, your things, your possessions, as if you would a hotel room. when you're renting a hotel room, you understand that it's not really yours. You'll still keep it nice and respect it. Most people. But at the end, when you leave it behind, you really have no emotional attachment to it whatsoever, because you understand that it wasn't yours in the first place. So when it comes to your things or your property, you should take the same approach. Nothing truly belongs to us anyway. So then why would we get so involved emotionally when we have to give it back to whom it was possessed? Interesting. Section 12 is a little bit more complex. And I don't really know how much of it I agree with. I'm just telling you what it says. Epictetus says that if you intend to improve, throw away such things as these. Quote, "If I neglect my affairs, I shall not have the means of living. Unless I chastise my slave, he will be bad." Remember, this was written during Greek times, Roman times. So he says that if you want to improve, you have to stop thinking that if I neglect my affairs, if I stop focusing on work and all of my affairs and money and all these things, then you're not going to improve, stoically speaking, because you're thinking and focusing on the wrong things. Stoic focuses and thinks constantly about virtue and the attainment of wisdom, not the attainment of money. He says it is better to die of hunger and so to be released from grief and fear than to live in abundance with perturbation, like to be perturbed. So he's saying that he would rather go hungry. People, it's better to die of hunger and starvation and be deprived than to live in abundance of wealth and money, but constantly be annoyed or vexed or perturbed or disturbed mentally about all of the things that you have to do to keep all of those balls in the air. Which is true. I've never really understood how people who are very wealthy are able to run so many different businesses and have so many pieces of property and land, and they rent out their homes, and all in the case of making a lot of money. Yes, they're quite successful. You might be one of them. I just don't know how you do it, because my mind would be constantly just vexed. I would be constantly disturbed by, what if this, and what if that, and what if this, what if that happens to my things? So just begin from little things. To learn how to get this frame of mind, begin with little things. Is the oil spilled? Is the little wine stolen? Say on the occasion, at such price is sold freedom from perturbation, annoyance. At such price is sold tranquility. But nothing is got for nothing. So while we're talking about big scale things like work and homes and cars, he says in order to get to that point, we need to start small. My coffee. If I spilt it, a little spilt then I'm not going to become perturbed by that. Because it's just not worth it. He's saying don't sweat the small stuff. And if you learn to not sweat the small stuff, eventually you won't sweat the big stuff. So. And when you call your slave, or your employee, or your child, or whatever, he says slave, consider that it is possible that he does not hear. And in other words, if you call and he doesn't respond, and you get irritated, you're giving him the power to disturb you in your tranquility. Understand that he just might not have heard you. Perspective. If he does hear you, he will do nothing which you wish. So let's pretend that for a minute that he did hear you, but he doesn't listen to you, like most children. And now he's living in your brain, and you're disturbed. Epictetus is saying don't become like that. Don't allow them to have that kind of power over you. Understand? Good. Section 13. The wording in Section 13 was pretty complex. So I translated it into more modern day English. So what you're about to hear is my translation of Section 13. If you want to improve yourself, prepare yourself to be thought of as foolish. Wish to be considered to know nothing. And if you shall seem to some to be a person of importance, distrust yourself. For you should know that it is not easy to keep yourself in conformity with nature and to secure external things. But if a man is careful about the one, it is certain he will neglect the other. You know, one of my favorite John Lennon quotes comes from a song of his called The Working Class Hero. And there's a line in there, and it says, well, I'm sorry, that's Herbst 84, it's just really good. They hate you if you're clever, and they despise a fool. So it doesn't matter how clever you look in school or whatever. You raise your hand, people will think poorly of you. They will judge you as thinking that you know everything. They also despise fools. So what do you do with that? You're stuck in the middle. So he's saying if you want to improve yourself, prepare yourself to be thought of as foolish. So raise your fucking hand anyway. And study. And prepare yourself to be thought of as foolish. You all know them. I mean, especially in work situations where you know who they are. They're people who, instead of screwing around, these are the guys going and getting degrees and going to school and working and to some degree sucking up to the boss. And it's in that attempt to improve themselves that we judge them. That we think they're foolish. It's like, I once heard somebody say it's like a big bucket of crabs. And, you know, there's just withering around in the bottom of this barrel. And then all of a sudden one will start to crawl up that barrel. And then right about the time he gets to the top, what happens? Another one of those crabs grabs them and pulls them right back down again. Epictetus is saying that when you want to improve yourself, be prepared to be thought of as a fool. I love that line, because it's true. Wish to be considered to know nothing. He's saying that don't wish yourself to be thought of as knowing everything. No matter how educated you are, no matter how much you know, you really know nothing, and that's what you want people to think about you, that you don't go flaunting it. Make sense? Goodness. If people think that you're important, immediately start to distrust yourself, because you're not as great and as important as they think you are, and you know it. Take yourself down a notch and remember where you came from. It's also a good leadership lesson, I think. Because it says it's not easy to keep yourself in conformity with nature and to secure external things. That's a pretty deep line. What is our nature? Our true nature as human beings, according to Epictetus, is we're beings of reason. And if we're to be aligned with reasonable things and use our reason rather than our passions, then it's not easy to keep ourselves in other words, when we try to we have to use our passions, greed and fear that constantly help us to secure external things. When we remove those passions and we use and conform ourselves with what our true nature is as reasonable beings, we would see that those things are really not important. So, according to him. That's enough for today. I know this is a long one, but I appreciate your time if you stood by it. We'll see you for episode 6. Smoky Lamp is out.